Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's a whole new month, May 1st, Friday, TGIF, everybody. I'm your host, Jose Galison. No kitty of the day. As you can see, my hands are empty, but you know what that means. I have a guest, and it's a old guest, the same as new guest. We got Ken Silva back on. We have plenty to talk about. We'll be recapping some stuff, talking about a whole bunch of stuff. But for those who like to see the my hot takes of the day, Monday through Friday, when we actually make it on the time, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications so you can see when I'm live and when I'm dropping new videos. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great morning. We got Ken Silva with us today, and we have plenty to go through. We'll have him with us for probably about the first hour. So we'll restructure the format a little bit today. But as always, we'll start off with some Icebreaker content. I do have a fun one for Ken. Just one, but I think it's worth it. It's a real humdinger. And then we'll get into the Steve Baker Showdown recap, covering the recent, I guess, debate of sorts that Ken and Steve Baker had. And then we will talk the Trump assassination attempt, and probably some more stuff. You just dropped on me. I guess there's some interesting Candace information, although I try to stray away from there because it does seem to lead to insanity. But whatever, it's fun to pop into the Candace craziness every now and then, and I guess maybe today will be no exception. Ken, pleasure to have you on the show. What's up, man? How are you feeling? I guess I don't want to lean too much into our first segment, but that we had a weird last interaction.
Yeah, I ended up staying in my office till like 11 p.m. with that one. That was a marathon session, but I'm rested up and looking forward to talking about all the various subjects and yeah, what's the humdinger you have for me?
Have you seen that story gone around with the, it seems to be, I guess I don't want to spoil it. I guess I'll just present it from the jump. Here she is. I don't know if you've seen about the JP Morgan executive story that's gone around.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know that's a real lawsuit, but is that real? Like, are we?
I don't know. For the purposes of this, I think to some degree we could probably assume that it's legit. But I mean, I haven't read any of the articles. I've just looked at the headlines. It's just funny. That's the only purpose of it. But apparently there's been this viral sensation where apparently this woman, this JP Morgan executive, is accused of turning her male broker into a sex slave. So some sort of high-powered lady, and she's kind of cute. I mean, literally, she's generally an attractive woman, and clearly she's high-powered. So it's like, it's just kind of the absurdity of it all. Here's one example of, I guess, one such thing she supposedly did. This is, I guess, pulled from an excerpt from one of the various articles out there. But it said, Haj Dini then allegedly removed her shirt, began fondling her breasts, and racially insulted Doe's wife, remarking, "I bet your little Asian fishhead wife doesn't have these cannons," the complaint reads. So this is the kind of subject matter we're talking about. I may have to come back to this just for the entertainment purposes and actually read, get into the weeds of these articles of like what's going on here, because it is hilarious. But I guess if it's too good to be true, sometimes it's because it is. Now the internet has recoiled and is going the other way. They've discovered that this is the guy who did it, this guy right here, which kind of, I think initially the feelers go up in people's minds. They go, what? Really? I mean, I don't know, whatever, maybe, sure. I mean, because he's not, not that he's ugly, but she's kind of a stunner. And then you're like, what's going on here? But apparently they're saying this is made up now. He is Charayu Rana, 35, a principal at Bregal Sagemount. He left JP Morgan, went straight to private equity. So it looks like a little bit of a jilted type thing. I mean, I don't know the truth of all of it, but either way, it is absurd, and that's the purpose of this introductory segment. Break the ice, and by God, does this not break the ice? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not trying to get your actual, I don't know, what you think the truth of the matter is here, but if you have any comments, feel free to give them, but it is just an absurd story. I mean, it's unbelievable in multiple different ways, really. What an insane thing. Assuming this is fake, I kind of go back and forth. I almost believe it's real because it's like, this is such an absurd thing to lie about.
Yeah, I don't know. How could you possibly make that up? That would be like putting it through AI just to tell the most absurd allegations possible. It is interesting that there's a real plaintiff here because there's a lot of hoax lawsuits that get filed under like an anonymous plaintiff will just file something as a joke. What comes to mind is this was like maybe 10, 12 years ago. Somebody filed a lawsuit against Johnny Manziel and in Florida, and it was all about like how he'd put his little dick in a hot dog bun, and like it's just like the most insane stuff. But that was like a total hoax. Like the plaintiff didn't actually have any knowledge, never met Johnny. Here, at least apparently, it seems like this is a real guy who did have some sort of dealings with this woman. Was at JP Morgan. So I guess it's worth following. It's not in the category of total hoax yet, although I still just have a hard time believing that this really happened.
Yeah, in both ways. Like, I have a hard time believing this is made up, but then I come back to like, come on, really, this happened? But whatever. I don't know. Maybe the truth will come out in the courts. This does bring to memory something. I mean, I'm struggling for details here, so you may not. But I vaguely recall. I feel like me and you may even have talked about this past. There was something. Maybe it was associated with the Trump assassination things. God, what was it? Wasn't it had something to do with Josh Shapiro, right? One of the previous. When there's some weird cockamamie lawsuit type thing where some state has like a weirdly structured like legal civil lawsuit system or something, so they were able to kind of essentially have more bunk things and kind of some of the MAGA slop entertainment network ran gangbusters. That am I recalling something correctly? Or I just was thinking of that now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I wasn't even thinking about this. There's a lady named Hadassah Feinberg who has filed some lawsuits accusing Josh Shapiro and a myriad of other actors of conspiring to conduct the Butler assassination the Butler shooting of Trump. And she also accused me of conspiring with Shapiro because I was the one that just ran an article going into this lady's background and debunking her claims and just saying, like with other people, she didn't produce any evidence. She did file a criminal complaint with the Butler County DA. And so like there's a real document of a criminal complaint where she's alleging these things. But as you say, in Pennsylvania, you're allowed to file a private criminal complaint and the DA is supposed to investigate. And here the DA just said, yeah, like we looked into this and there's absolutely no merit to it and tossed it out. But everybody grabbed this criminal complaint, including like that Sam Parker guy, a lot of like Candace's clowns, and said, oh, well, we have the documents that prove it. And it's just just absurd.
All right, let's get into our first segment today. Let's talk about the recap of this showdown that we just had. I actually just came across this reply earlier. This I feel like kind of summed up the interaction pretty well. But for those who aren't aware, just the other day, I recommend going to check it out. We had on this channel right here, we had, I guess, a debate of sorts. you challenged Steve Baker's journalistic integrity online and essentially goaded him into coming onto a show. We were able to get him to come on mine. We sweetened the deal a little bit for him by giving him his own essentially biased moderator, because I am biased, very biased in this. So I think that was perfectly fair. So we got Steve Friend, former FBI member, or maybe he is still, I don't know. There was some weird storyline where he got in and out and whatever. But I guess one of these unsuspendable guys who got booted out for, I don't even remember what. Between the group of them, it's like woke stuff or back stuff or something, which, like, okay. I mean, sure, I don't like the FBI, so that seems like legit reasons. So anyways, we had them on. Steve Baker, the guy who we were particularly talking about the J6 pipe bomb, technically J5 since it was the day prior, but the J6 pipe bomb story that Blaze had run. They essentially, I think we get a little bit kind of in the weeds in the specifics of what is claimed, but they, in essence, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people, particularly especially in regards to the lawsuit, think that they essentially claimed that the Shawnee Kirkhoff, I always fuck up her name, but the Capitol police officer, that she was a suspect, an actual, like, she was the one who did this or whatever. So they kind of got over their skis in our opinion. And so we got into all the weeds of that on that day. So it was a little bit of a weird situation. I will give apologies. My internet gave out pretty early, and I don't know if it really made much of a big difference, but it definitely felt like I was at a disadvantage, because then I was playing catch up, trying to figure out what had already been covered, and a lot of this is hemmed up in specifics. So whatever. But I think they may have sicked some internet feds on me. But I don't know, kind of a weird episode. I mean, I don't know what to make of it all. I mean, he kind of, in a sense, seemingly admitted to everything we got him to come there to say, but somehow I still don't. I don't know. What are your thoughts, I guess, before we delve too much of this? And I guess I'll read this real quick since we do have it up. Here is actually, fuck it. Give me your thoughts, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's on the stage here. I guess just your general thoughts, and then we'll bring up I'll show what you got into with Kyle here, because I think this really kind of gives the specifics that we're talking about.
And so I'll just correct you on one thing, is that I didn't goad Steve into anything. He asked for an interview, and I said, okay, let's do it on Jose's show. He agreed, and we set it up. And basically, my whole argument was that with this pipe bomb story, he didn't follow proper journalistic ethics. He didn't present any actual direct evidence. The lawsuit against him is going to be successful as a result, and he'll have set up this straw man that Shawnee was able to knock down, and everybody's going to say that this conspiracy theory was debunked. I mean, I think you put it best at the outset of that interview / debate, where you said, like, Shawnee couldn't have asked for a better gift than your mess of a story. Like, she's going to get rich off of this. And yeah, at various points throughout the 2 hours, if you manage to get through it, he admitted that he colors outside the lines as far as journalism standards goes. He actually, at the very close to the end, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to lose my lawsuit. The only thing he still disagrees on is that he thinks at the end of the day, he's going to win the court of public opinion, and that everybody's going to know that this is a government cover-up. So 2 out of the 3 things he basically ceded, and it's the third that will be remain to seen. I did run the video. I haven't gone back and watched it, but I ran it through AI, and he spoke like 65 to 75 minutes while I was 25 to 30. So he was almost 3 times as long talking to me. We let him have the floor. Like, this wasn't something where I'm going to cut him off. I want to get him to get his talking points out. And I think a lot of people were persuaded that he's right, that it really is Shawnee. But for like the millionth time, that's not my argument. That's not the point of the whole thing. I mean, Steve Friend said a couple times, like, well, what would persuade you guys that it's Shawnee? And it's like, that's why we're here, because he hasn't released any direct evidence. Like, this gate recognition, he hasn't actually released. And for some reason, you've asked me this 3 times, like, why do you think we're here? So it was a little bit of frustrating in that regard. But, it is what it is, and we'll see how this story develops.
Yeah, one thing that came up multiple times in there, and I mean, I don't know, it's funny. I feel like we both got a little bit of flack for being almost dicks to him, but I don't think people realize that this was me being really nice. Like, I was trying to bite my tongue quite a bit. but anyways, one specific thing is I almost felt like getting a little lippy, but I didn't at one point. There was a couple times where I think it was mentioned, the chat was saying it, and then I don't know, between both of the Steves, I think they may have made little kind of bitchy, little pissy comments about like, why don't we just bring Kyle? Why don't we talk to Kyle? Kyle Seraphin being one of these people specifically kind of involved in the reporting. And for one, I don't know, because that would be, if we had done a Kyle and Steve Baker me and you thing, that would have been 100% a weird, skewed. I mean, it really would just, if I guess if you wanted to for whatever reason have Kyle on, I guess I'd be open to doing something like that. But it would make more sense to do those separately or something. But either way, it's like, well, he's extremely relevant to all of the things that we are talking about. So of course he is going to come up. If anything, they kind of paired. I don't know if, I mean, maybe we can get into the weeds in this in a minute, but it almost feels like ham-fistedly paired Kyle's claims or whatever in with the separate like gate stuff, and it's almost as if that's kind of doing a lot of legwork. But when you really evaluate, it's like, are these even really connected? But anyways, beside the point. Here is Kyle. I guess kind of pushing on that. He goes, watching Ken talk to Steve Baker in complete ignorance and drawing wild conclusions from me talking to Alex Jones is pretty funny. And then your response that kind of, I think, summed up kind of the points you just gave a little bit in your recap there. He says, hey, look at the tough guy talking shit while having my main blocked and then complaining that I don't reach out to you. You know my favorite part? When Baker ceded to two of my main arguments. What he doesn't follow, that he doesn't follow basic journalism ethics, and that the lawsuits against him will be successful. The part where I caught Steve Friend red-handed lying about your pipe bomb disclosures was pretty good too. Good job helping Shawnee get rich, idiot. So that was a fun one. I'll give that a little retweet real quick. I don't know if he hit it. It didn't get enough shine. But yeah, that's the kind of the summation. As you mentioned, two of the main, which I think are like the main arguments. I guess it's kind of like a sub-argument. I guess it's kind of this like separate thing, because like you said, he essentially admitted that he's probably going to lose the lawsuit, but he's going to win the court of public opinion, whereas our point was like, this will discredit this. So I guess it's kind of like part of that. Anyways, he somehow imagines that he's going to, but I see that as basically giving up the goat on that. So basically, in my opinion, he kind of gave it away to you. And yeah, he did talk a lot. I do still kind of struggle with people who are finding this, I don't know, all that. I mean, like you did just mention, he talked almost 3 times as much. He does, and it was kind of hard to bite our tongue and not try to, but really did give him the floor. But he does kind of move in circles and kind of talk extremely, I don't know. I tried to point it out later in the argument. I think that's where a lot of people thought I think I was being an asshole, because I essentially kind of called him a Fed. But my point wasn't really that he was a Fed. It was more that, like, hey, you keep mentioning all these things and going on these long speeches and coloring things with like the craziest of, negative, of bad faith interpretations. And it's like, dude, like, you live in a fucking glass house. What are you doing? So I don't know. Any thoughts on all that? And then also, I guess the specifics on him lying, because I was out of the interview for like 15 minutes, so I did kind of miss some of the specifics of the person of interest 1, 2, 3 type stuff. The specifics of that. Although, as I tried to drive at in the interview, I don't really feel like those are as substantive as they like to act like they are. It's kind of like, okay, cool, you did that. Okay, and what? So anyways, Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I asked Steve Friend to be a co-moderator. Personally, I texted him because me and Steve Baker were on good terms with Steve Friend. Like, it would make no, like, I am not on good terms with Kyle Seraphin, obviously. And so it'd make no sense if you were a moderator. I'm like, okay, like, obviously Jose and Baker aren't best buds. So let's have somebody who's cool with, me and Baker both. And that, turned out to be I'm no longer on good terms with Steve Friend. Won't go into that further, but he basically told me to lose his number after the debate, which is kind of weird. So
was there something contentious that I'm sorry, I don't mean to fuck up your flow, but like I said, I missed like 15 minutes. I felt like, I mean, yeah, he did seem like his asshole was a little chapped, kind of, and all that, but like, you guys never really got into it that I saw. I mean, maybe I missed 15 minutes. You guys did get into it.
I think you did miss it. It was basically,
okay.
So my two main arguments were like the gate analysis, we don't have it, and then Kyle Seraphin, the reason he matters in this is because he says that he was surveilling Shawnee's next door neighbor as part of the pipe bomb investigation, which is very interesting. Like you said, they're putting this together ham-fisted. I don't think that's the case. I think that's actually super relevant and interesting that like they've got a dead ringer as far as the gate analysis goes, and then that person happens to live next door to somebody who at one point was a person of interest in the pipe bomb investigation. My argument, though, was that Kyle Seraphin for years has been representing that he actually was surveilling, that the FBI, the person who was seen on surveillance camera placing the devices on January 5th, but it's since emerged that he was actually conducting surveillance on somebody who was in the area of where the pipe bombs would eventually be placed on the morning of January 5th. That's the person who was there the morning of January 5th, taking pictures of where the RNC pipe bomb would eventually be placed. And then he uses the Metro card to take the train back to where next door of Shawnee. So it's still interesting that Kyle was conducting surveillance on a person of interest who lived next door to Shawnee, but that person was never suspected of being the actual person who dropped the bombs. And so I made this point, and Steve Friend says, well, Kyle's never said that. He just said that he was surveilling a person of interest. And then as the debate/interview is developing, I look it up on the Washington Times that indeed that's exactly what Kyle said, is that the surveillance was on the person thought to be on the surveillance footage that actually dropped the bombs. And I read that to Steve Friend and, pretty much caught him. I wouldn't, maybe not a lie, but definitely just wrong. Like no doubt about it. And then he immediately pivots to, well, why does it make Steve Baker's case any weaker that there was a different person of interest and not the person on surveillance footage? And then I said, well, Kyle's error, his mistaken assumption or whatever, was transplanted in the original Blaze article. And that's where Steve Baker goes, no, we knew who were behind those doors the whole time. We knew it was a different person of interest. And that's kind of the only big mistake I felt like I made the entire 2 hours, that I didn't correct the record there. Because I'm like, whoa, really? Like, am I wrong? Even though I was almost positive I was right. And so at the very end of the show, I said, hey, if I'm wrong, I will make a public correction on Twitter. But then I went back and looked at it, and I wasn't wrong at all. They did. The original article published on November 8th talks about Kyle's whole story about surveilling the suspect on surveillance footage. And in fact, like a week later, they stealth edited to change it to like a different person of interest. So not only was I not wrong, but I saw further duplicity as that Jacqueline Sweet lady, who's like a freelance reporter. She was the first person that caught the stealth editing. She did it at the time. And this is like, man, if you don't mind, we should pretty much move on, because I'm sure I've lost like half your audience by now. This is like really in the weeds stuff, but if you're following along,
that's the purpose of the show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you are right. That was one that I did kind of was like, what? I do remember this stealth edit, because it is like a lot of this is caught up in minutia and like the specifics, and you're like, wait, was this really the result of a misreading or perhaps even a clunky wording, perhaps by an author or something? And it looks like that's, I mean, I don't know if you want to go a little bit more to that, but like, yeah, a lot of this is caught up in the edits, because you're trying to make it out like they allegedly meant something differently. So these are the ones. So you see Which one's the original and which one's the later one? So
That's
this is
the original, the pipe
Okay.
bomb suspect. And so I guess the significance is that would be that the theory would be that Shawnee was the one who used her neighbor's smart trip card, placed the devices, used the neighbor's Metro card, comes back, give it to the neighbor, and then she's next door, and that's why Kyle is surveilling the neighbor. And so, but in fact, it was somebody else who he wasn't even living next door. He was like visiting out of town, and he uses that smart trip card, and he comes back. And so it's still an interesting coincidence, but it's not as damning as if it were the original interpretation that it might have been Shawnee using that smart trip card.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I did want to ask you about, and this may have been something that you mentioned, and I guess I kind of said it in my own clunky way a couple times in the interview, but it kind of kept being this like impression of like, well, what more do you guys want? Like there was even like, well, what if she confessed? And then they almost like framed it as like we're assholes for being like, well, I don't know, I need to know like more, like. Because, I mean, I've read enough parapolitical books where people confess all the fucking time, and that's not the case. So, I mean, yeah, I'll give you that would be a lot. But, kind of, there's almost this impression of, like, between them and even some of the audience, of their audience, like, well, there's, like, this overwhelming evidence or something. And it sounds sort of like it, as you mentioned, like all the investigation of Kyle, and then you pair that with the gate thing, but, like, I mean, we've shown there's a little bit of more to be desired in the specific, reporting when it comes to the Kyle side of things. But even then, at the very least, even if you take that as rock solid, the other side of this is not rock solid. And you're pairing together two separate things. And there was this, like, said multiple times by Steve that it's like, oh, it's standard journalism these days to use anonymous stuff. And I'm no, anonymous reports or whatever, like your own sources. And, like, I'm no journalist, but, like, sure, that's fine. But, like, usually you don't use anonymous sources to uphold these sorts of claims unless it's, like, you're doing that intentionally. Like, for example, like, the birthday letter comes to mind with, like, the Epstein thing. The little signature. Like, I know they made the claim initially. A lot of people were like, wow, that's pretty nuts. And then they sued him, and then they ended up dropping the actual signature. So they had it, and they were clearly just, like, waiting to drop it on their ass. Steve hasn't done that. So what are your thoughts on that as a journalist using anonymous sources? Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Like, you're just expressing concepts, and I, as another logical human being, and going, oh, this person is telling me they have an anonymous source. And for you as a rational actor, you take that with the amount of credibility for what it's worth, which is basically about nothing. It's not entirely nothing, but I'd say generally speaking, like any sort of anonymous claims are generally almost useless, but if they're like kind of paired, they might like give a little bit of a bolster to an argument or something like that. But like, I mean, I read sources say, reports all the time, and you just interpret it with that. Like, well, they're saying this, and I don't know, I guess they could get sued if they're lying, but, whatever, it's just a claim. And you take it with that amount of input, not the amount of, like, oh, I bet she fucking did it. Like, I don't know. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, am I on with that or what? I mean, I've never taken journalism 101, but that seems, I don't know, as someone who's trying to interact rationally somewhat in my world, that seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, well, I never use anonymous sources as my primary source to hinge an entire article on. Like, I might have documents that tell a story, and then I get an anonymous source with a quote that gives meaning, further fleshes out what these documents mean, and I might grant anonymity just because the person doesn't want to be, for whatever reason, they don't want their name out there in connection with the story. But I've never said, like, oh, something, there were 2 shooters at Butler, according to this anonymous source. Like, that's totally, I think, really shaky. And you've got to have a really good track record in order to even do that credibly. The most controversial use of anonymous source in recent history is Seymour Hersh's story about how the U.S. government blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. He published that in 2023, and the entire thing was one anonymous source who told him this story about like the CIA or Navy SEALs had divers. They went down, planted these charges. They were there for a couple months, and then kablooey, the whole thing goes up, and now like there's a big cover up, and that was really controversial at the time. But Hirsch's argument was, well, this source has been providing me with information for over 20 years. It's always checked out, and I'd be really surprised if he snookered me on this one. And yeah, I guess my whole career, I'll have to call into question like the whole latter half of my career if I'm wrong. But that was his reasoning, and I do think that's pretty controversial.
Yeah, and it is. And even then, I'm not trying to be petty, but fucking Steve Baker's no Seymour Hirsch.
Well, yeah, I mean, for people not familiar with Hirsch, he's the one that like exposed MK Ultra, the Miley massacre. He's an absolute legend, like top 5 American reporter.
We'll let him get away with this one.
Yeah. So again,
to be clear, and even then, I don't take that as like solid. That's just one source from a legendary journalist that even I am open to skepticism. So I wouldn't take that as meaning that that's for sure. I mean, I already was kind of leaning that way anyways. But anyways, go on.
Yeah, and since then, there's been a lot of contrary reporting saying that it was actually Ukraine that did it, and they did it with Joe Biden's disapproval. So I think that's kind of the attempted cover-up, is that this wasn't done with the U.S. government's consent. But in any event, that's like the most controversial use, pretty much up until Baker's story. And a key difference I noticed, I don't want to misrepresent what he said, but I'm pretty sure he said he reached out to his sources in the ODNI, who eventually found somebody willing to run the gate recognition analysis for him. So maybe I should have drilled that down more on Monday, but it doesn't seem like he had any prior relationship with this source. So it's not a Seymour Hirsch thing where like, this is my guy, I trust him. It's like, oh, somebody in the ODNI finally found somebody willing to do this for me.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's different than I have a guy. I was searching frantically for a guy and I found a guy. You're like, okay. So, I mean, if you're being a little bit skeptical here, you're like, oh, so someone could have easily seen a fucking mark here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, that's the risk of doing anonymous sources, is sometimes the sources are running you as a journalist and they're using you just to get their own propaganda out, which, that happens all the time. Last thing I'll say about this is that he counters with, CBS News reported Shawnee's alibi that she was playing with her puppies the night that the bombs were placed, and that was based off anonymous sources. And I think we both said, like, fine, we don't necessarily believe that either. And then he's like, well, why aren't you grilling the CBS reporters about this? And it's like, dude, you asked for this interview. Like, what are you talking about? God.
And yeah, I would fucking love to grill those motherfuckers. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, it was a great example of times trying not to be condescending and an asshole. But although I definitely did get there a couple times where I just couldn't help it. But there were definitely more than a few double takes. So
I'm glad it was you and not me. Like, I wasn't going to go low, although I wish we did go into a little bit of more of his previous journalistic blunders, because that goes more into the argument of like, well, if you're going to use anonymous sources, you have to have a really good track record. And he once wrote a story about the police using direct energy weapons during the summer 2020 riots. And that was based on an anonymous source who said he was in the room when General Milley authorized that.
I remember this now.
I really wish I would have brought that up. But whatever. I mean, it's fine. It wasn't going to persuade anybody one way or another. If you already agreed with us, you probably thought we did good. If you already agreed with Steve, you probably think we're assholes. It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there were more than a few double takes, like the one you mentioned earlier, where he literally gave up the argument. Essentially, he goes, "Oh yeah, I know. This will be." I can't remember how he phrased it, but essentially, basically, the sentiment was, "It will be successful, probably, this lawsuit." And then we're like, I almost had to stop and be like, wait, did you misspeak? Like that's like that was. But yeah, there was a few.
Yeah, and I think he'd say it's because the whole legal system's unfair or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't want to
Yeah.
straw man the argument and say,
Yeah, because they don't lock up blacks in D.C. or something. Like
yeah, that was another one. He didn't. I said he had a plea agreement. He really jumped on that. I didn't have an agreement, but I pled guilty, and here's like.
That's where I lost it. I couldn't keep it together at that
Yeah.
point. Because that was the second time. Because I had mentioned the Fed thing earlier, and I said you were doing foreign intelligence behind the Iron Curtain. He goes, whoa, 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 and then just gives a 3-paragraph description of what I just said.
Yeah, that was also very amusing. So.
Sorry, I'm just. There was a few moments I had to say to somebody because it's like, did that just fucking happen? And this guy telling us he's a libertarian the whole way through, and he must have been 5 fucking times. He did these weird, argument from authority to the fucking government. And you're like,
yeah,
dude, come on. But anyways, one more thing before we move on. I saw a bunch of articles flying about, and no one was directly referenced, but it feels like it was driving at it. And then a lot of talking about their reporting. Now, I saw this out, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This is a claim going out right now. Here's John Basham. He says, propaganda media says an FBI raid and polygraph on former Capitol Police, now CIA officer Shawnee Kirkhoff, was caused by the Blaze and Steve Baker's story IDing her as a J6 pipe bomb suspect. Only problem, that story was posted 36 hours after the FBI raid. So I'd like to get, have you looked into that? I've seen this being thrown all about because it's like a kind of cause and effect because of the implication. I don't know if maybe you said something to the implicate. I think you may have, kind of implying one led to the other. I don't know. Have you dug into this? I mean, I'd also be open to the idea that they could have been working on this and the raid could have happened as a result, because they knew that reporting was occurring. But anyways.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if we went into this on Monday night or not, but basically what happened is that Steve went to the ODNI with his findings. The ODNI drafted a memo and passed it to the FBI, and then the FBI raided Shawnee's house and subjected her to the polygraph as a result. So that's why she was raided before the story came out. And since then, that discovery, all the 302s and the FBI documents about the investigation into Shawnee Kirkhoff were provided to the current defendant, the accused pipe bomber, Brian Cole, as part of his discovery. And Cole's attorneys released some of these documents, and Steve Baker took that as validation, even though it was his tip that caused the whole FBI raid in the first place. So, yeah, if I'm understanding your question correctly, that's what happened.
Okay, cool. Because yeah, I think so. So it's basically what I thought. Like you said, a tip, or they somehow got word of certain reporting occurring, and so from there they did that. So it wasn't technically the actual story itself that did it, but essentially early knowledge of the reporting before it was going to drop, perhaps. Is what it sounds like. So, I don't know. Whatever. All right, let's move on to the assassination stuff. Let's stop beating this dead horse. If there's anything else you feel like that we should address, I feel like we kind of hit it all. Really, it's one of those ones I'm still kind of scratching my head that anybody who's pissed at us about this, but whatever. I guess we're supposed to just take a whole bunch of trust me bros upon trust me bros as facts these days. Because I guess a lot of intelligence community individuals that you cannot name say a thing that makes it okay. If I just keep making up new imaginary friends and say they said something, that grants my argument more credibility.
Yeah.
But I guess let's get into this Trump assassination stuff. And I think as we're getting into it, it's probably worthwhile noting that Trump is full-on Q posting. Here is one of his true socials, one of his most recent ones from yesterday. The storm is coming. Nothing can stop what is coming. Which is straight up, for those who are aware of QAnon propaganda, that is straight up QAnon propaganda. There's no avoiding it. That's Trump Q posting. And I thought this was a fun little dig. Apparently there was an Operation Trust, which is a Bolshevik counterintelligence operation from 1921 to 1926. This was aimed at neutralizing opposition by creating the false impression that a powerful group of military leaders had organized to stop the communist takeover. You know, the old classic, we got some white hats in there, which, you know, funny enough, I feel like ties a little bit into our first segment with the whole Steve Baker, this idea that there's these magical white hats in government that are going to somehow make things better. But, you know, kind of on that, before I guess we get right full on into the assassination stuff, I figured let's pop in on Bongino now that I haven't covered this clip yet, and this is only perfect for having Ken on. We're kind of jumping a little ahead of time. We've covered we got to. We've covered the Trump assassination attempt, a couple that we did on Already Dead. I did a morning dump earlier this week. We covered it, so we've covered some of it. I'd like to get your thoughts, but part of the interest of this specific story is essentially the information, why am I struggling with words right now? But essentially what other people are saying in response to it. So like the Carolyn Leavitt's, Donald Trump as a result to the assassination, very much a push for censorship, you know, kind of this idea of like, you know, white hats. I can't believe they're saying all these crazy things, these lies. I'm scared. So with that, here's Bongino. He was one of the few that escaped our gaze when we covered this the other day. We went through the responses from multiple administration officials, now we're going to cover one former one. But yeah, look at this beady-eyed goofball. Let's see what he has to say.
But listen, I will never be the same, and I'm being as serious as a stroke right now. Look, I'm scared, man. Like I know what I did. And I'm proud of my work, and I'm proud of what me and Cash accomplished in the past year, beyond proud. I know what we did. I know what's coming. I know what I started. I know what I laid out, and I know it's all, you saw a lot of these cases coming out over the past few days even. But don't think for a second that I don't think every day, and this is what's really sad, and this is why I know, and I never thought this after reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me. And listen, man, it's not a sob story. I knew what I was getting into. But it happened to the president, and he went through just the worst, just destruction of his civil liberties I've ever seen. But I say to my wife all the time, I know, Sean, I can look you in the face as a friend, tell you and your millions of viewers and listeners, I promise you everything I did with a dotted I and a crossed T. I brought in my own attorney from the outside, person I trusted, a wonderful, wonderful person. I said, no, everything is going to be by the book. Everything. I'm confident in that. And you know what? It don't matter. They'll rewrite the book, just like they did for President Trump. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, I got a 14-year-old. The presidency could change. I hope it doesn't in a little over 2 years. You don't think on election night, if we lose, like it's not going through my head, like they're going to send some thugs to my house? I was never the same after that, because after reading what I read about how many people did this to President Trump, this Russia hoax, collusion, crossfire hurricane bullshit, and not a single person stopped them, I'm terrified that they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge.
All right. Okay. One more thing. I just remembered something I did want to mention to you, just because it's been fucking with my head. Some of the weird, like there's this, I mean, maybe we just wandered into Boomerland and I'm just like astounded, but it feels like this connects to this clip. But I was just thinking about one more thing with the J6. Some of the responses have fucking befuddled me. There was one person, this has been like lived rent free in my mind since someone posted it. Someone called you a boomer. Like, which I know it's just a subtle little insult, but I mean, if you watch that 2-hour debate and you came away thinking Ken is the boomer, which I think you're like somewhere within a couple of years of my age, give or take. So, like, I don't even think you're old. I think you're what, mid-30s?
Yeah,
like that?
Yeah, I'm in my 30s.
So it's like, anyways, that fucked me up. And then also one more I didn't want to mention. Kyle called you fat, which that kind of fucked with me too, because you're like, not that you're like the paragon of health or ripped or anything, but you're like, Ken's not fat, like, yeah, but anyways, I had to mention that. I had to get that off my chest because it's been just some of the insults flying about were just like, what? But anyways, the boomer one really fucked me up. I was like, how, especially as many boomer things occurred in that interview, and then to come away going, Ken's the boomer. Anyways, What are your thoughts on Dan Bongino? I just had to get that off my chest because it's just been fucking with my head. Like, who is this person that would come away from this and go, you know what Ken is? He's a fucking boomer.
Yeah, and I'm not fat. I'm big bone. God damn it. Bongino. So I was actually surprised he's saying this. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised he's saying something stupid, but I thought he was the smartest thing about him quitting is that he'll probably escape the Democrat backlash because he got out early, and I doubt he did anything too blatantly illegal or shady while he was there. It just seems like he kind of sat in his office and stared at the walls and tweeted all the time. So I think I might even have tweeted that when he quit. I'm like, hey, he's probably smart because like Cash could be going to prison if he doesn't get a pardon. So it's just weird. It seems like he's bloviating, but I'm going to swerve on you a little bit because, you know, Cash and Dan are ridiculous people. I get it. I was pushing back against them before they were even appointed to their positions when everybody still supported them, including guys like Steve Baker and Kyle Seraphin. But now I feel like the criticism's getting a little too ridiculous. And let's step back and look at the big picture. The FBI is marginally less bad under these guys. I mean, they shut down the January 6th investigation, which is the biggest investigation in FBI history. I get it that like anybody under Trump would have done that. But the biggest thing that Cash did that's good, I think, is focus more on just regular street crime and less on counterintelligence and counterterrorism, kind of send in his DC spooks into the field offices across the country to help on like immigration and gang violence and stuff like that. So in the big picture, I actually think that's a W for these guys. Although, to push back against my own argument, this type of stuff with the FBI focusing on street crime, that, as Ron Paul and Scott Horton have said, you need to do that with a non-interventionist foreign policy. When you're provoking all kinds of backlash from the Middle East, then maybe, yeah, you do need like a KGB type surveillance apparatus. But that's either way, the street crime thing is a W. So I guess I'll forever play the contrarian just to get people pissed off.
Well, they're coming for him. But it sounds like this guy was not coming for Kash Patel. What is his name again? I keep forgetting it. You saw that? That one's still kind of, you know, as things that kind of fuck with your mind, kind of like Kyle calling you fat, or the one dude calling you a boomer. And the boomer one, once again, just is the most bizarre one. But this guy, I keep coming back to this every time we cover it. He literally in his manifesto, you know, it made an exception for Cash, which I thought maybe I was misread it. But then he did make I really do think it was some weird intersectionality nonsense. Because he did make a mention in his his arguments for why it's okay what he did earlier. This idea, like, he made up this imaginary, like, oh, well, you're half black and half white. Who do you think you are doing this or whatever? And he's like, well, somebody's got to, which that kind of like tipped off the intersectionality, as if he was waiting for some like handicapped lesbian black woman or something to come and do it. So it's like a weird way to enter into this, but I guess, you know, as we're kind of in the absurd, what did you think anything of that? I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, that was my interpretation too, is that Cash is a minority, and so he was getting a pass on that. Just a little bit of background on Patel is that he used to be explicitly like a social justice warrior. When he was in college, he wrote papers on the importance of social justice. The New Yorker reported on this maybe 6 months or 7 months ago about how he would apply for grants, and his applications would be all about the importance of giving minorities opportunities. And it just really seems like Patel's a straight up striver, and like any way he could get to the top, he's a chameleon. And he found that working on the Russiagate stuff around 2018 or whatever really ingratiated himself with MAGA and Trump. He took the ball and ran all the way to become the top police officer in the country. So good for him. I don't know if Cole Allen knows that or not, but just for the readers or the viewers' benefit, that is Patel, a brown social justice warrior.
Maybe Patel is the key to making all the Charlie Kirk theories converge, because it's for Israel. The FBI did it, and also Transtifa did it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even realize he was an old school justice warrior. Obviously, I'm joking. I'm goofing. But that's how you make all the theories work all at once. You make Cash the linchpin here. But anyways, we got this guy. We got I always forget. Is Brian Cole, or what's his name again?
Brian Cole's the pipe bomber.
Brian Cole.
Cole Allen.
Cole Allen. There you go. Cole Allen. This is the guy. I mean, like I said, we've already covered a couple times on the show. I'd like to get your thoughts. The one thing I've been kind of running my head around is, here is this clip of him. I guess all we know, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like the biggest thing we know so far as what occurred here is he made some mad dash, and I'm about to show it to you guys. He made some mad dash, and then he got apprehended. I guess they fired at him. Let's watch this real quick. Here's where he makes a run for it. You see, boom, he goes. I like to back up and show his stance too. We can see he's like head over like feet moving it, like booking, like as fast as you can. Now, I don't see. I mean, obviously super grainy, hard to make out a gun or anything. So, from just a logistical standpoint, I mean, I've made lots of fun teasing that he's like, he was like trying to break out into full Naruto run. It does seem comical, but it's just like from a logistical, like what. I just don't even I can't even wrap my head around what he even thought he was going to fucking do. Because, as I pointed, like, I mean, someone said this is like 1.5, but even, like, speed, but even then, he's so far leaning forward, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable running with a gun, holstered, or in my hand at this sort of breakneck speed, like, to where I'm literally, like, head over feet, like, booking it. So I don't even understand. I mean, there's these reports of a supposed long rifle. I mean, hell, there was initial reports that he was killed, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Now I've heard, obviously everything's so fresh. I mean, we see all them. You can see them shooting right here, all the Secret Service. So you can see a ton of people drawing their guns. Some of the reports I'm seeing is that there was someone who got shot, but they were thinking it was the guy, the attempted assassin. A lot of the reports are seeming perhaps it was actually friendly fire. So what are your thoughts? I mean, we really still doesn't seem like we don't have a ton to go on, but this is just weird. I mean, for someone who's done a whole series on like the RFK assassination and stuff, and the In the Cupboard, and the yellow was it yellow polka dot dress or whatever. I mean, this seemed to me, if I was looking for some, I mean, this doesn't even make sense. And all you would have to do is program someone to make a run for it. Or maybe I'm missing. Just what are your thoughts? It makes no fucking sense to me on so many levels. I mean, I guess one more thing. I did find it funny. When this happened, I actually was on Twitter, and I just happened to see in like where the spaces little tab on the side, and I saw you were literally in a space talking about the Butler shooting. And I know you always, maybe a little bit to your chagrin to some degree, find yourself kind of somewhat arguing how like maybe Butler or how Butler was probably real and wasn't completely fake. And as you're there, this thing happens that. I'm open to it being legit, but it's just one of those things, vibes, like just all this stuff going on. I mean, he's literally, when this happened, he was an Israeli mentalist who essentially had fucking had gotten Rogan in a viral post a while back, revealed his ATM pin. It's just like everything going on, all the pattern recognition is just pinging. Now, what we're missing is actual evidence. So, to be completely honest, I have no fucking idea what happened. I just know nothing makes fucking sense to me right now. So, what are your thoughts on all this?
It was pretty ironic because I was actually in a Twitter Spaces debating people who thought that Butler was fake, and then somebody chimes in with the news, and the moderator is like some QAnon guy. Like, they were nice guys. I don't have anything bad to say about them other than I think they're a little out there with their theories. But at the beginning, they're like, okay, this happened. We don't know what happened. Let's not jump to conclusions. And like within like 25 minutes, they already think that what happened on Saturday night was fake too. So that was pretty amusing. Other than that, I don't really have any special insight into this case. I haven't read up on it hardly at all. I've just covered, was there friendly fire? I know there was some journalist who was staying next door in the hotel room that said he was never checked. So, like by Secret Service, which implies Cole was never like, it just shows how lax the security was, and it was really shocking. I've seen the Henry Martinez account that tweeted Cole Allen a couple years ago. Like, yeah, a bunch of weird stuff, but haven't done the deep dive, so I really don't know what to say other than that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will eventually. The first thing I posted when I saw this is they're never going to let Ken finish his book.
No, we're not. We're not delaying the book anymore on account of this. We delayed it already when the Iran war started popping off, and they started talking about we had to do this because they tried to kill Trump, and that was worth delaying the book for because it gives the book new geopolitical significance about why the title literally is like the Trump assassination plots, what the investigation missed, and why it matters. Well, an impetus for war with Iran matters just about more than anything. So we delayed it at the time, and then somebody tried to enter Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun and a can of gas maybe a month or two ago. We got that in the book. But when this happened, I actually talked to my editors, and they're like, nah, it wasn't on the same floor. There didn't seem to be any real present danger to Trump. So this is just another crazy guy that ran past security.
Well, I guess we'll be getting a part 2 as they roll out the numerous other attempts.
Yeah, that's the upshot, is that the Secret Service is just a hot mess, and I'm sure something's going to happen again.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a Whitney Webb 2-volume type situation.
Yeah.
But one last thing on this specific, I haven't had a chance to dig into this. I haven't had a chance to read it all, but I saw a post you made where someone, it sounds like some sort of claim of some sort of foreknowledge of some sort of the Butler attempt. Is there a way you feel like you could, break that down for the audience? What's going on there? You can see this tweet right here. It was from Jane Doe, says something for all the Butler, Pennsylvania truth seekers. I was listening to my favorite journalist, Ken, on a space he joined recently where he brought facts about the Butler assassination attempt. He was basically the only one in the room pushing back on the idea that was staged. During the discussion, something came up that caught my attention immediately. The others were talking about how Maze Love had received a text days before the Butler event while co-hosting a space. What they described the text as saying made me super curious. I went through her account, found the space, and took the time to go through it until I heard it with my own ears, and what it said is wild. So I'll let you break down the rest because there's a whole video and more text to go through. But what is this of any? I also saw you followed up with the person a little bit too. So I don't know, maybe you have an update for us. I'm just curious. What is all this about? Anytime you hear foreknowledge, your ears should perk up.
Yeah, and shout out to Jane Doe, for actually tracking this down. I mean, that's really good work by her. And it shows, July 9th around midnight, there's just a group of people in a Twitter Spaces talking, totally unrelated subject, and somebody just pipes in that Maze Love says, somebody texted me, I heard there was an assassination attempt against Trump in Pennsylvania. Trump was actually in Florida at the time, but nevertheless, it's very intriguing, and it obviously took on new significance after the Butler shooting. What to make of it? It's just a bizarre mystery, and that's why I posted when I shared what Jane Doe found. I posted the information about the Oklahoma City bombing, where there were a couple faxes and phone calls made the morning of April 19th, 1995, that the Murrah building in Oklahoma City had just been attacked, and that was before 9:02 a.m. Central Time. So it was some weird prank or glow up. That's still a mystery outstanding from the OKC bombing. So I doubt we'll ever really get to the bottom of this, but it is very intriguing.
All right, one last thing. I don't have any visual aids ready for this. You actually sprung it on me right before we started, but I'm all ears. You mentioned something about and this definitely ties into, especially the first segment. Once again, if we're talking lawsuits, but you brought up Candace Owens, and I believe it's the Macron lawsuit. I think is there something going on with that? I did see something through my feed at some point about that, but I have these days been kind of just phasing out anything Candace related because it's kind of a joke.
It's actually a Charlie Kirk lawsuit. It's really big news. She was sued by Charlie Kirk's former security guard, now that Kirk's dead.
Oh, yes.
But she was claiming that he was in on it. And, you've seen the clips floating around of them doing hand gestures and various theories that there was either like a pocket or a gun up somebody's sleeve, or they were detonating something, or that they just did such a bad job on purpose to get their client killed. Well, the head of the security team, Brian Harpole, filed a lawsuit against Candace and that Mitch Snow guy who claims that he saw Brian Harpole in a meeting in Fort Huachua with Erica Kirk. And thank God, man, I'm not usually a fan of, reporters getting sued, including with the Baker lawsuit. This is different. This is where I'm like, God damn it, why does Baker have to get sued? And now what could be true is going to be discredited. Here, it's like, man, fuck Candace. Like, this is just bullshit that she was making up, impugning the security guards, like pretty much implicating him in murder. It's totally justified for him to sue her. And I'll be looking forward to see how this develops, because I think when you saw the reference to Macron is the fact that when she got sued by the Macrons for claiming that Bridget is a man, she's like, yes, let's go to discovery. This is going to be great. It's going to prove me right. And then she turns around and files a motion to dismiss. And she's like, oh, the only reason I did that is because they filed the lawsuit in Delaware and I live in Nashville and it's inconvenient. So I want the jurisdiction moved. Well, here, the Brian Harpole, the security guard, filed the lawsuit in Nashville. So it'll be interesting to see if she actually files a motion to dismiss, because that would undercut her whole posturing of why she filed in the last case. So, yeah, we're seeing various media figures make claims without presenting any evidence, getting sued, and then claiming, oh, now we get to discovery. It's a very bold strategy. We'll see how it goes.
Great reference. Ken, let people know where they can find you at, and I'll let you out of here unless there's something else you wanna yap about, and then we'll get into our foreign policy and get out of here for the day.
No, it's good to be with you. I'm on Twitter at JD_cashless and headlineusa.com.
All right, appreciate your time. We'll definitely get you back on again sometime soon. The world seems to keep converging around your reporting, so we'll see you on the next one.
Appreciate it.
Bye. No problem. Bye. All right, guys, let's roll through the chat. I don't know, maybe say a handful of good mornings. I don't know, maybe first 10, last 10, something like that. Pop into you guys. I always feel inadequate when I haven't said hello to my beautiful audience, my dumpers. Daddy Dumper is here. But yeah, let's roll through the chat a little bit. And just a reminder for those who aren't aware of how this game goes. Typically, these are usually solo. I do have guests. Maybe like 1 out of 4-ish or so. And this is a stream. I hang out with the chat. I talk to you guys, and in between each segment, I will pop into the chat, say some hellos, some good mornings, everyone. I try to give everyone at least one obligatory good morning, unless we have a guest, and that I don't do that with a guest. I don't want to be hanging out in the chat with a guest, but when the guest leaves halfway on an episode like this, I'll pop in, say hello. But just a reminder how this works. And if you don't like that, that's completely fair. Everyone has their own preferences. Not everyone wants to listen to me, ramble on with the chat. But if you don't like that, but you do like some of the coverage we do on here, what you can always do is, especially on the playback, if you're watching this live, I can't help you. Go to the bathroom, go do something else for a minute. But if you're watching this on the playback, just go down to the video description / podcast description, and there will be timestamps, and just move on to the next topic. I saved the banter for the end of each segment. So yeah, let's go through here actually not one last. We'll go through her one more time at the end. But let's roll the chat, say some good mornings, and make sure to hit the likes, do all those good things. Let's roll the chat, say hello. Good morning, King David. Oh, yeah, and a little reminder, like I said, I do try to give everyone one obligatory good morning, but after that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. You guys can leave super chats, help support the channel. Or you can go to the top left corner if you want to support the channel regularly and get a bunch of other perks, which we'll go through that later. Good morning, that one chick, Chris. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Mustache. Good morning. Good morning, Daz. Good morning to you. Good morning, Bug Fights. Feinberg, yes. Good morning, Joe Pro Plumbing. Says Ken is the man. Fuck Steve Baker. For sure, for sure. Good morning, Retardo. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Tower Gang NPC. Good morning, Jorge Glockington. Who else we got here? Did I ever say good morning to you? I think I did. Tom33 though. Good morning. Good morning, Derp with Kerp. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Yesy some different. Good morning. Good morning to you. What else we got? Good morning, Qbert. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, darn that dragging saying hands empty, referring to that little clip we played earlier. Then we got Yesy saying on the new DOJ video we see the weapon. So I guess this is also a little casual reminder that if you are out here listening to the show and you would like to get involved in helping produce it in any way, shape, or form, all you have to do is when you're on social media, particularly Twitter, tag me. If you see something, you're like, whoa, this would be great for the show, tag me. So if any of you guys find that video, please tag me because I would like to look at that. I'd like to say I'll remember to look it up later on my own, but I probably will forget. So if someone could tag me, if they find that video on Twitter or something, tag me and we'll probably play it on a later episode or something. Be like, oh, here's the weapon. So, okay, checking that later. Let's go to the bottom. What's what we got? All right, who else we got here? All right, I think actually, wow. Chuck Bam. Good morning to you, Chuck Bam. Who else we got in here? All right, I think we might be good on all our good mornings, hellos. Let's. Well, I don't think we got everybody, but hey, this is what happens when we have a guest on. Just be grateful. I even talk to you people. Just kidding. I love you all. All right, let's get into the anti-war stuff. Let's get into some foreign policy. Do you guys like this thumbnail we have today? Well, this is where it came from. Apparently, Trump threatened Iran with AI image of himself holding a gun. So if you're looking at a thumbnail right now, you'll see this very image, but instead of him holding the gun in front, the gun's on his back now, and he's holding the Morning Dump newspaper, as we do with these thumbnails. But here's the original, no more Mr. Nice Guy, with an AI image of Donald Trump wearing some aviators, holding an AR, and a bunch of explosions going on behind him, clearly in some sort of Middle Eastern sort of region with Middle Eastern-looking type architecture. Yeah, this is where we are in our back and forth with Iran. He says this came amid reports that he's considering restarting the bombing campaign against the Islamic Republic. The caption this is Iran can't get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon. President DJT. Oh, so fucking cool. So I had to show you guys this. This is wild. This is where we're at. This is the current diplomatic whatever. This is diplomacy right now. This is what this is. Continuing on. Here's Pete Hegseth kind of giving up the goat here. Admitting, this is him essentially straight up admitting that they didn't have nukes, but they had ambitions. So now we're just fighting feelings, which, by the way, even the ambitions is bullshit. We've covered that in the show. We literally murdered the guy who had a religious edict for, millions of Muslims in that entire country that they would not pursue nuclear bombs, which I guess you could think he was lying, but that would have been kind of a crazy lie. But anyways, here's Pete Hegseth. He got grilled recently by a bunch of politicians. So we'll have a couple of these for you, but this one is quite revealing of why we did what we did and how retarded it is.
Who's hell-bent on getting a nuclear weapon and get them to a point where they're at the table giving it up in a way that
they
never have it.
So they haven't broken yet. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet for all of the...
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material
reclaiming
might be.
My time for
we're
just
watching
a quick second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands
So
of missiles.
Operation Midnight
They're at the
Hammer
weakest
accomplished
moment.
nothing of substance. It
You're
left us
missing-
at
you're
exactly
missing
the
the
same
point.
place we were before. So
Their,
much so
their
that we had to
facilities
start
were
a
bombed
war.
and obliterated. Their ambitions continued, and they're building a conventional shield. of
Let me
missiles.
try again.
It's the North Korea strategy. You know this very well. The North
I
Korea
know.
strategy was use conventional missiles to prevent anybody from challenging them so they could slow walk their way to a weapon. President Trump saw Iran at its weakest moment, took an action to ensure, in a way that only the United States of America could do with our Israeli partners,
And yet
to
they
ensure their
still haven't given
conventional
up the nuclear.
shield was,
All right.
was brought
One
to
other
heel, which
question,
we've done.
if I could get to it. So on you.
Okay, so he gave it up there. I mean, he just admitted it's because they had ambitions. So they did not have a nuclear weapon. They didn't have the capability to get a nuclear weapon, according to them, because their stance is that they destroyed all their nuclear fissile material or whatever whenever they bombed their nuclear facilities. That's been the Trump line. Yet we needed to go to war because they're going to get a nuke or something. But so now they are going to get a nuke because they want to get a nuke. So Pete Hegseth is a mind reader, despite the fact that everything they have said is to the opposite. Except now they're definitely changing up their rhetoric in regards to nukes. I wonder what changed. Also, we got the U.S. may deploy new hypersonic missile against Iran as Trump considers restarting the bombing campaign. So great. I think it's a lot of people are implying perhaps this may just be to show off to other countries that, hey, we have these missiles to flaunt our big booms. So not good. CENTCOM has requested the deployment of the U.S.'s hypersonic missile known as the Dark Eagle for potential use against Iran as Trump is considering restarting the campaign. U.S. has already used a missile for the first time against Iran, a short-range ballistic missile called the Precision Strike Missile, or PRISM, which, according to the investigation of the New York Times, was used in a February 28th strike that hit a sports hall in the Iranian city of Lamerd, killing at least 21 people in the area, including boys and girls practicing sports. So the last time they tried to do one of their cool bombs, they killed a bunch of little kids. So, I mean, maybe they just felt like, oh, this time around, oh shit, we need to get a clean, cool one where we don't kill the innocents. But considering we're at in the 40 to 50% range of innocents dying in this conflict, I don't know if they're ever going to get that. So let's just stop bombing people. We got Israel preparing for return to war with Iran. As Trump briefed on potential strikes. So, but what is that really news? They're always chomping at the bits for more murder and destruction. So, no surprise there. Israel is ready to go. This is what they want. Let's pop back over to Pete Hegseth. Let's hear what he has to say about the economic impact of this whole ordeal. Because I don't know about you, but I'm already starting to notice a little bit of an economic impact, but unfortunately, I don't think this will be the end of it. And much like how COVID, everyone was clamoring for all the stimmies and like, oh, well, that catches up. Just like all this war fever is going to catch up. I mean, people might see some, rises and dips in the gas price. It might be like, oh, I mean, let's say they get it back down to under $4 a gallon. People are like, oh my God, wow, under $4 a gallon. Well, we may be seeing it elsewhere because this is going to impact us all over the place. This is going to, they're going to be printing money like gangbucks for this shit. They're already talking about a $1.5 trillion budget for the Pentagon next go around. So here's Pete Hegseth. Let's listen to him talk about the financial effects of all of this.
Things I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increase.
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas
answer what it
and food?
costs to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear
I
bomb?
give you that, sir. But let me.
What would it
just
cost?
ask my-
What would you pay to ensure Iran doesn't get a nuclear bomb? What would
Sir,
you pay?
I reclaim my time. Do you not know? You had no one do the analysis of what the increased cost of gas and food on the American people are going to be?
What is the cost of Iran holding that straight at issue with nuclear weapons?
It's $631 billion, which means it's an increase of $5,000 a year for American households. Now, let me give you this point. You're saying that your operation is preventing a nuclear Iran. Will you acknowledge that there is an economic cost to the American people for doing what you believe is necessary to make Iran denuclear? Will you acknowledge the economic cost?
We have an incredible economic team that's managing this better than
Yeah, but
what the previous
but to
administration did to our
acknowledge that-
economy,
to acknowledge
what the
there's a
previous
cost.
administration
You-
did
you
for
don't even
inflation,
know what the- you know
what
what's
the previous
upsetting? I reclaim
administration
my
did with
time. You know,
COVID,
Secretary-
and you're going to
Secretary,
lecture this
I reclaim
administration
my
about the
time, sir.
economy?
You know what is upsetting? to me?
Incredible.
You didn't even do the analysis on how much it's costing the American people. It's one thing if you said, okay, it costs the American people $5,000, but we think it's worth it. That's what we've done in World War II and other wars. Here's what it costs. You got to pay for it. You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence. It's the incompetence.
All right, well, let's get a little bit into more of the specifics that Pete Hegseth wanted to dance around. Here over at Responsible Statecraft, we got a Pentagon official told the House Armed Services Committee Wednesday that the war in Iran cost the United States $25 billion in the first 2 months. Facing questions from Adam Smith, which you guys just saw a clip from him a minute ago. Acting Defense Department Comptroller Jules Hurst testified that most of the cost was in munitions, plus operations and maintenance and equipment replacement. Smith thanked the Pentagon official for offering the most specific cost estimate since its first week, when Hurst said the price tag was roughly $11 billion. I'm glad you answered that question because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one has given us the number. Hurst told the committee that the Pentagon and the White House would, accidentally clicked on something else. In the White House would provide Congress with a supplemental request when they had a full assessment of the cost of conflict. Reporting has indicated the administration is planning to ask for a $98 billion supplement to pay the war. Well, it's let's take it a little bit deeper. Here's an article from a day after this from Dave DeCamp saying real costs of Iran war likely double the $25 billion figure the Pentagon gave to Congress. So even that figure they just gave, looking a little worse. The $25 billion estimate that the Pentagon gave to Congress on Wednesday regarding the cost of the Iran war is a lowball figure that doesn't include the cost of repairing the destruction at U.S. bases across the Middle East, CNN has reported. Sources told the outlet that factoring in repairs to bases and replacing military equipment destroyed would bring the cost to $40 billion to $50 billion, or likely double what the Pentagon told Congress. However, the real cost would likely exceed even the figure reported by CNN, as Pentagon officials initially said the first 6 days cost $11.3 billion, and the bombing campaign intensified after those first days of the war. According to a report from the New York Times in early March, the $11.3 billion estimate for the first 6 days was also low since it didn't account for many of the costs regarding the operations, including the buildup of military equipment and personnel in the region before the U.S. and Israel launched the war. While putting forward the $25 billion figure during a congressional hearing on Wednesday, the Pentagon also acknowledged the supplemental funding bill it will request for the war will be higher. According to media reports, the Trump administration may ask for somewhere between $80 billion and $200 billion for the supplemental, and the Pentagon has said that the cost of the war wasn't factored into its record-shattering $1.5 trillion budget request for 2027. So we're going to be paying for this shit, guys, one way or another, much like we're still paying for murder in Somalia. Isn't that great? Don't we love that? We're getting our money stolen for stuff that most people don't even know is going on. So 2 more airstrikes in Somalia. They've launched at least 60 now. So still well on track to get their record that we talk about so much here on this channel. It seems every other episode, or damn near every episode, there's another bombing in Somalia. The previous record was 124. We always bring that up. That was a previous yearly record, last year's record from Donald Trump, which he blew the fuck out of the previous record, which was 60, which was from his last term. So, beating himself. And even then, like, you compare it to some of the other presidents, it's like he's lapping these fools. So, if you measured the success of a presidency by how much they bombed Somalia, he is the best president we've ever seen, I think. We also got Putin and Trump apparently talking, so that's always a good thing. These world leaders coming together, talking Ukraine and Iran. I mean, I'm well past any sort of cope that the Ukraine war is going to come to any sort of end here soon. But hey, worth covering this sort of diplomatic occurrence. So Trump spoke with Putin by phone on Wednesday, during which the two leaders discussed the wars in Ukraine and Iran. According to Russian officials during the call, Putin said he was ready to declare a ceasefire with Ukraine on May 9th for Victory Day, the day Russia celebrates the Soviet Union's victory in World War II. Trump told reporters that he suggested a little bit of a ceasefire and that Putin might announce it soon. Says it's unclear whether the ceasefire will hold, as a recent short truce meant to last 32 hours for Orthodox Easter fell apart quickly, with both sides accusing the other of violating the deal. The Trump-Putin call comes as the Trump administration's efforts to end the war in Ukraine appear to be stalled, and the 4-year-old conflict continues to rage. Yuri Yushchikov, an aide to Putin, said the Russian leader expressed support for Trump's decision to extend the ceasefire with Iran, though he warned against the U.S. restarting the bombing campaign and launching a ground invasion. The Russian president drew attention to the inevitable, extremely harmful consequences for not only Iran and its neighbors, but also for the entire international community if the U.S. and Israel resort to violent actions again, Ushakov said. And of course, the option of a ground operation on the territory of Iran seems completely unacceptable and dangerous, the Kremlin aide added. After the call, Trump was asked which war he thought would end first, and he said he didn't know. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar timetable. Well, considering the history of this Russia-Ukraine war, that doesn't give me much warm and fuzzies. But hey, guys, we're pulling out of Germany. World War II was a long time ago, by the way, so seems a little silly we're still in Germany, but hey. But this time it's as punishment for Germany not wanting to get in a war with Iran. So I thought that was particularly interesting. Trump said that he was mulling, which I think it was the German chancellor we covered just the other day. It might have been the last episode where they were saying that the U.S. is being humiliated by Iran. So here we go. Trump is nothing but petty. Said he was mulling a reduction of U.S. troops in Germany following Chancellor Friedrich Merz saying Iran had humiliated the U.S. Yeah, see, there you go. Cool. I guess that's while it is petty, it works out how I would like. The United States is studying and reviewing the possible reduction of troops in Germany with a determination to be made over the next period of time, Trump wrote on Truth Social Wednesday. Trump has also claimed the war is benefiting Germany by preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. However, multiple top members of his administration have confirmed that Iran's nuclear facilities had been destroyed during Operation Midnight Hammer in June. The president's statement followed Merz's criticism of Trump's war against Iran. The Iranians are obviously very skilled at negotiating, or rather very skillful at not negotiating, letting the Americans travel to Islamabad and leave again without any result, the German leader said Monday. Entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian leadership, especially by these so-called Revolutionary Guards, and so I hope this ends as quickly as possible. Earlier this month, the Wall Street Journal reported the White House was considering a proposal to close a base in either Spain or Germany to punish the countries over their opposition to the U.S. war against Iran. Washington's European allies were upset by Trump's decision to attack Iran without informing them first. Spain and Italy have responded by closing their airspace to U.S. military aircraft conducting operations against Iran in the Middle East. The proposal Trump is considering would reposition troops in Eastern European nations, possibly in Poland or Lithuania. The U.S. currently has 36,000 troops in Germany. Moving thousands of soldiers closer to Russia's border could further escalate NATO's tensions with Moscow. So this is kind of a big deal. I mean, Germany is a big base. A lot of people, I mean, you guys know that I was military, and I wasn't somebody who was like jet setting all the time. I wasn't deployed. I went on like one deployment, one TDY I was in. It was pretty, which is on the lower side of how often people typically do so. But I worked in like back shop most of the time. They don't get deployed as much. But anyways, I am aware that Germany is a huge base. A lot of people go in and out of there. I'm pretty sure when I deployed, if I recall correctly, I believe I stopped through there. I forget the name of it. It's some German sounding name. There's like a big base there, a big Air Force base that, is pretty much a kind of a go-between for a lot of these things. I mean, they're talking about moving to Lithuania or Poland. Like that doesn't even like register a blip on me for significance of military bases as someone who was in at one point. So not that, like I said, I was some jet setter always in deployed locations, but I'm just saying so far as like how prominent or significant, this is a big deal. Like them moving out of Germany, which hell yeah, I'm all for it. I hope they keep doing these sorts of things. Although I don't like the idea of them repositioning them. They should just get fucking rid of them. They should fire them all. Moving on, speaking of people who should be fired, every politician in the United States, the House approved a 3-year extension of warrantless spy powers. So the House on Wednesday approved a 3-year extension of Section 702 of the FISA Act, which gives the federal government the power to conduct warrantless surveillance of Americans. And then furthermore, then it gets to Congress, and then they passed a 45-day extension of warrantless spy powers. So let's get into this one. Both the House and the Senate passed a 45-day extension of Section 702 of the FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which gives the federal government the power to conduct warrantless surveillance of Americans. The Senate passed the 45-day extension by unanimous consent, and the bill then passed the House by a vote of 261 to 111. Without the extension, Section 702 would have expired at midnight. Bummer. Day earlier, the House passed a 3-year extension of the spying power, which we just covered, but the bill included a ban on the Federal Reserve issuing digital currencies, which the Senate rejected. Oh, that's significant. Okay. So the Senate turned down the ban on the Fed giving digital currencies, which I remember, I think that was something Trump ran on, if I recall. Like that was ended up being like a big deal at one point where he made a few times made some lip service to the idea of not allowing the federal government to get access to a CBDC, which is what that is. So that's significant. Section 702, which was first enacted in 2008, enables warrantless surveillance of non-Americans and allows the collection of massive amount of data, including communications with Americans, which are stored indefinitely. Trump has been calling for Congress to pass the Section 702 extension, even though his 2016 campaign was targeted over FISA. In one post on Truth Social, the president said he was willing to give up his rights and privileges to extend the spying power in acknowledgement that it violates civil liberties. Moving on to the evil things that Israel be doing. People don't think it do be like that, but it do. 3 Lebanese paramedics killed by an Israeli double tap strike. Isn't that delightful? A double tap. We get those occasionally over here in our foreign policy coverage, quite frequently, and disturbingly quite often by the United States as well. We like to see ourselves above it all, but no, just little monsters. At least 16 people were killed in the past 24 hours in various Israeli strikes, including a Lebanese soldier, a family of 5, and 3 emergency workers trying to rescue the wounded in an attack on the town of Majd al-Zaun. The family of 5 were identified as the Baja family in the town of Bishit. The overnight attack on their family home killed Mohammed Jawad Baja and his wife, along with another relative and her 2 children, one of whom was an infant. Well, I mean, he was going to grow up to be a terrorist, right, guys? Rescue workers were reportedly working there throughout the night to recover the bodies. Rescue workers in Majd al-Zaun weren't so lucky. After an Israeli strike leveled the building with 6 people in it, the rescue workers were dispatched to try to rescue any survivors. That's when Israel struck a second time on the same site, killing the workers. This is a thing they do quite frequently. Wait till people try to rescue the people in the building and then murder them too. Details are scant on who the initial 6 people trapped in the building were, but they're all reported to have died in the incident. The IDF claimed an unnamed Hezbollah commander was among them, but as usual provided no evidence to support that allegation, saying only that the incident was under review. An additional attack was reported against a motorcycle in Kirbert Selm, killing 2 people identified as a Lebanese soldier and his brother who were heading home from the military outpost. There was a separate report that Israel attacked a Lebanese patrol that was escorting rescue workers, wounding 2 others. The incidents fueled condemnations from Lebanese officials, which Prime Minister Nawaf Salam denouncing the attack on the rescue workers, particularly as a new and documented Israeli war crime. Well, you could write a tome on Israeli war crimes. The IDF, for its part, said Hezbollah fired a pair of rockets at Upper Galilee, one of which they intercepted. They declared this to be another violation of the ceasefire understandings, despite the IDF themselves having killed over a dozen people, mostly civilians, in their own operations. And that was from yesterday. This was being reported, or technically the previous night before that. So the 29th. And then yesterday, now we've got another, on Thursday, there was 32 people killed. So more to add to that. A flurry of Israeli strikes on Thursday killed at least 32 people in the areas around Lebanon's Nabatea district, including women and children, and wounded dozens of others. One second, I accidentally dropped the screen. Give me a second. Here we go. The casualties largely came from Israeli attacks on residential buildings in southern towns and villages. As with yesterday, there were high casualty incidents in Jebchit. Today's attacks hit 2 distinct residential buildings there. The first killing 3 and wounding 7, and the second killing 4 additional people, including a small child. So, more murder. Great stuff. Peace in the Middle East, really working out well. Then we got over to Gaza. They killed a paramedic on the 29th. So on Wednesday, they killed a paramedic. So only one. That's an improvement, but it doesn't end there. They killed 3 the next day. Yesterday, they killed 3 Palestinians over in Gaza. So the murder continues. Keep in mind, both Gaza and Lebanon have what they call what they like to call a ceasefire, although fire has clearly not ceased. So, was it 3? Now we're over 3,000 casualties. No, never mind. I got it wrong. So casualties is including injuries, I think. So there have been 824 Palestinians killed in Gaza, I believe. No, 827 since the ceasefire deal in early October. So great. All right, guys, let's roll the chat one more time. Say goodbye, and then let's get out of here. Made good time today. I should be back. I delivered all the kitties. I think we have one more kitty, but it's going home on Sunday. So this batch of kitties are all gone. So I'm a little sad. I'm missing my kitty friends, but there will be new kitties that are going to be moving into the kitty room over here and be featured on our kitty of the day here soon. Anyways, my point with that was just letting you guys know that I'll probably be more consistent next week. I know I only dumped twice this week, but we'll up that for next week. We have plenty more we'll have plenty of stuff to go through next week. So I look forward to hanging out with you all. I do have an outro for you guys before we get out of here that you guys think you guys will like. But let's roll the chat, see who else has showed up. Say some highs. Good morning, JC. Good morning. Good morning, Deep Tissue, saying I hate the way Adam Smith talks. Good morning, CS. Good morning. Good morning, Ecological Criminal Report. Thank you for sharing this on X. If you guys are on Twitter and you watch that here, give the likes and retweets. Do all that. Let me see. Someone could write a Talmud worth of Israeli war crimes, says Tom33. All right, guys. Wow. I made good time for once. But with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TarragangJose. Everywhere else, it's No Way Jose. Just search up No Way Jose. You'll find the No Way Jose podcast. And from there, you'll be cooking. And if you want to support the show the best way you can do that with money over at patreon.com. So it's No Way Jose 2020. There's a QR code in the top left-hand corner if you'd like to use that. And there you get a whole host of perks for the low level of $2. I give you guys access to early episodes. I try to do about 1 or 2 of those per week. I was only able to get 1 this week. Sorry, my Days of Lead guy had to reschedule, so it's fine, whatever. But we do have a weekly Wolfson in there that'll drop this weekend for you guys. I try to keep about 3 to 4 of those behind the paywall at any given time. I also give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed, give you guys access to Telegram, the pre-show, post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I also give a big shout out to the highest level of my Patreon. It's a big thank you for their support. And my previous Ghost and Tower Gang at Leonard Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZFURCK, at _ Seal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, big fan of the show. Torme, at Wayne Tacos, 100 Cover Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Wintergrad, a Biblical Anarchy podcast. And with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. I do have this outro for you guys will like. Some more AI slop. I got Trump doing a classic, an oldie, with a little bit of an adaptation here to apply to current events, particularly the recent assassination attempt. So I'm sure you guys will like this. We'll see you on the next one. Do all the things. Love you all. Bye-bye.
All right, stop. Forget the polls and listen. Donnie's back with an ancient invention. Do this. If you need public support, just fake your own hit and treat it as a sport. Was it ever real, yo? Hell no, but people like to root for the underdog, so if you need a problem, yo, just fake it. Create a spectacle and let the lefties take it. Now that the psyop is pumping, Everyone's hype and reporters are jumping. Use that. The version has fuel. Put a band-aid on it. Everything's cool. If they start asking about your year,
just felt it like me for the past 30 years.
The good assassination will never fail, so you can run the master plans of the Israelis. And when you mess up a big dirty war, just say, look, we won like you did before. If you need a problem, yo, just fake it. Just make it look real and let the lefties take it.
Snickers for